Welcome to Robotics and Automation News webinars, where you can be part of a global event without leaving your home or office. Attend our live webinars and communicate directly with influential professionals in your industry.
Hello, my name is Abdul Montakim. I'm editor of Robotics and Automation News.com. In this interview, I speak to Shermine Gotfredsen, Global Sales Director for ROEQ, which is a company that specializes in providing equipment for autonomous mobile robots, the small driverless vehicles that roam around inside warehouses, moving goods and materials. Shermine explains the concept behind the company's business model and details some of the products it has built and offers to the market.
I'm Shermine Gotfredsen, Global Sales Director of ROEQ. I am assuming the commercial function in the company and basically really focusing on helping the company to grow from a startup to a scale-up business. And most importantly, to help in putting out this awareness in the market, when it comes to education around autonomous mobile robots and also the standard mobile robotic equipment that works with this autonomous mobile robots.
Okay, now I've heard of ROEQ, and I understand it works with companies like MIR, which is Mobile Industrial Robots. That's they produce what they call autonomous mobile robots, which are AMRs, mainly used in warehouses and production facilities. What is the ROEQ part of the partnership in a typical situation like that? What is the technology or the product that ROEQ supplies a company like MIR?
Right. It's interesting you raised this question because the space that we are navigating in is actually not very much defined in industrial, in the industrial setting. But if I were to put it across, robot arms and end of arm tools for robot arms, I guess we're quite familiar with that term, end of arm tools for robot arms. Those are the grippers, the sensors, the cameras that basically allows the robot arms to perform the task in a manufacturing setting. And ROEQ is actually a mobile robotic equipment manufacturer, and we do the similar thing, like being the end of arm tools, but instead for robot arms, we are the end of arm tools for mobile robots. And of course, we are not termed as end of arm tools. We are mobile robotic equipment manufacturer. So we basically specialize in top modules to interface with like mobile robots and equipment for the mobile robots to be able to complete the pickup, to transporting, and to the delivering of materials in intralogistics.
I'm just going to share my screen and go to the ROEQ website, and that will give people an idea of what you're talking about, or an illustration of what you're talking about, and maybe you can let's expand on some of the pages we visit or something. So here we see on the home page a mobile industrial MIR autonomous mobile robot moving a ROEQ piece of equipment, which is a wheeled, kind of like a wheeled trolley. What is that wheeled trolley sort of? Is that the shelf unit?
So before you you look at, I mean, it's very obvious with the cart that has the wheels, the legs. But if you notice, there's this piece of top module that is labeled ROEQ but black, just above the robot.
Yeah.
Can you see that? Yeah, that is that main thing that interfaces with or between the mobile robots and the equipment, like the cart in this case. So this is a cart solution to basically move the trolley, as you can see, on top of the cart from one point to another. So to pick up, move it, and drop it off in another place. or docking point. Yeah, but it's really about this top module that we developed for cart solution, for rack, for roller, as well as for lifter applications, so as to enable the robot to basically collect, transport, and drop off materials in facilities.
And how does the communication work between those two devices, the AMR and the ROEQ piece of equipment, the slab or whatever you call it there? So what does that hold does your equipment hold the information about that tells the robot what to do, or is it the other way round, as it were? And is that connected to a server somewhere? Is the ROEQ
Right.
connected to a computer, central sort of a coordinating computer?
Yeah, so in order to make integration really simple and to ensure that safety is being taken into consideration, we develop our ROEQ Assist software, which has gone through years of development and continuing to follow the progress of the MIR technology platform, and that allows us basically to make like pre-coded missions in our software and allow us to set up the software very quickly, and then goes over to the MIR interface. And basically, as a user or an integrator, you can then make the integration, the programming between these two equipment, like the mobile robotic equipment and the mobile robot via the MIR software. So we sort of developed the software to make it work in one software rather than having to deal with two software. And that's the software part of it. And obviously on the mechanical and electrical part of it, we do go through development work to make sure that it's also working as the MIR technology platform is.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the video that I found on the website, and it's giving us more information, visual information about what we're talking about. And I didn't realize that carts are as sophisticated as this. I didn't really think about anything beyond the AMR. I thought the shelf units, the racks above the AMR, were just not didn't contain any computing sort of capabilities or technology in that sense. They were just shelf units. So this is kind of new to me. So that's one thing. We'll have a look at that again. So let's have a look at the ROEQ range, if you like. So you've got carts, racks, lifters, top rollers. Top rollers are parts of that you can attach them to these kind of AMRs, and they're a little bit of a conveyor system sort of thing, aren't they?
Yes.
They have rollers on them, and they can move products from one end of this roller to another, meaning they can just pick something up from somewhere, one conveyor, for example, and take them across the warehouse to another one. And lifters, I'm not really sure what those lifters are. Let's have a look at what the lifters mean. So yeah, tell us about these lifters. What are the? Is that what we were looking at? Is that what they're called?
Yes, it's a lifter top module. So it has a lifting mechanism in the top module that when it arrives to a drop-off point, it will actually lower down and allow the pallet or the tray, in this case, to be drop off on the pallet rack. And in order to pick it up, then the lifting mechanism will raise and lift the tray up and moved away from the pallet rack.
Is this a unique system? Because I didn't know. I mean, I've seen AMRs with shelf units attached to them. You know, maybe 5, 6, 7 shelf sort of stacks, shelves. But I just thought they were attached to the AMR, or the AMR itself usually integrates a lifter, the lifter part of it. So why is that? separate now. Whereas, I mean, I don't know what other AMR companies
Right.
do, but I think
Yeah.
at least one of them has it's kind of the AMR has its own lifting mechanism. Is that am I correct in that assumption?
There are some AMR brands that choose to go with a product that has the lifting top incorporated or integrated into the robot itself. But there are also many AMR manufacturers who leave it to the integrator to make the solution that is required in the market. So now it becomes something that is more open in that sense. So it's different strategy for different AMR manufacturers. The thing that we have decided to do as our business model is to deliver standardized top module and mobile robotic equipment, because with work with large manufacturers, or rather the founders have worked with large manufacturers in their earlier consulting business, where they understand that in order to meet these expectations on safety, because these large manufacturers with global sites, they are very focused about or having a very stringent regulation around safety. And in order to meet the safety requirements, as well as reliability in terms of performance and quality, and also the ease of use, the only way to do it is to actually provide something that is standardized off the shelf, that has been tested, proven, well engineered, and has gone through many iterations of design and machining to get it right, and it works right out of the box. Also, this whole software development piece comes into play as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, as I say, because it's kind of a new area of my learning. As I say, I thought it was that lifted thing was usually connected or integrated or part of the AMR. But now I realized that looking at this video, the AMR is mainly responsible for the wheel, like the moving around, the wheels take it in different directions to different places. It doesn't necessarily have to have a lifter as part of the AMR. Now, the reason why that's interesting to me right now is because, of course, you can, if it's modularized in that way, that part of it, the top part of it can be a lifter, it can be a what they call, I don't know what they're called now, but there's industrial robotic arms now being attached to top of AMRs like this. So if you modularize it, separate the tasks in that way, you can have any kind of top part. I don't know what the technical term would be, but that you can attach any kind of robot on top of it, whether it's a lifter like this or a robotic arm. I think I think they're called autonomous mobile manipulator robots or manipulation robots,
Right.
the ones with a robotic arm on it. I don't know if you do those kind of things, but they're very new. It's a very new type of robot. So you've got the AMR that moves around like we can see in the video, but the top part is a robotic arm. Is that something that you're interested in developing? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know. I am well aware of that. Yes, and yes, you're right. That is very popular and very much in demand in specific industries. But we do not have that specific solution as such. We are still at a very early stage, because the company is only founded since 2017. So there's a lot of work that we are working on right now. And we have been focusing on these top modules and focusing on the MIA platforms to ensure that we fulfill a large percentage or majority of the market needs at this moment, which is more of the standardized sort of industrial applications.
2017 is not long ago. It's a very quick sort of development get to this point?
Yes, yes,
Uh,
and actually we spent the first couple of years on the R&D part. So the commercialization really took place in 2018. So it's a relatively young company, and we pride ourselves to actually stay focused, and that's why while we are very ambitious in our vision to become the go-to supplier for all AMR needs, and to ensure we have comprehensive solution for let's say MIR, all MIR robot platforms. We still want to focus on what's most needed in the market right now in terms of more of these industrial applications that can be applied across the many different verticals.
yeah, it's for this kind of technology, I would have thought you, in the past anyway, you would have needed many years of development and all sorts of things, commercialization. What do you think has changed over the last few years in the robotics industry as a whole? Because I think AMRs definitely have been extremely popular. Lots and lots of warehouses are buying AMRs, which obviously must have an effect on your business because AMRs, you supply components for AMRs. I know you're currently mainly working with the MIR. Is that an exclusive partnership, or I mean, you are allowed to supply to other companies, aren't you?
We are, and there's no exclusivity in that sense that is tied by paperwork. But we do recognize being focused and staying focused help us to grow to where we are today. And that really is kind of a core strategy in the company to stay focused. We don't know, obviously, in the next 3 to 5 years what's going to happen. If we look at the global market for AMR, it's forecasted to grow from USD 800 million to 49 billion by 2030. So you're absolutely right. That is a huge market potential to address there, and not just for AMR, because that comes along with the demand for standardized or for mobile robotic equipment, and that's all the more necessary for this mobile robotic equipment to be standardized rather than customized, which has been a very traditional way of doing it. Because with such a growth rate that we are forecasting, it's going to be challenging to grow the network of system integrators globally to meet this demand, and also with the standards that are changing all the time. That is even difficult for organizations to keep up to, let alone system integrators who have to keep up to date about these standards. And what we do in the business is that we take this complexity kind of away, that we do the development based on the standards. If we're working with MIR technology platform, we work on how the technology platform is performing, the standards that ties with it, the safety that ties with it. And so our products will naturally already have a certain level of standardized safety is compliant with the market or with the standards in the market. Like for instance, if we look at our top roller modules that interfaces with the conveyor systems, it already includes safety functions in line with the ISO 36914. And this feature protects workers from injury by ensuring that the conveyor is not in operation while the robot is moving. So things like that we take into consideration into the development work itself. So that really gives integrators as well as the users a peace of mind.
Mm. Yeah, it's a very interesting area, and it sounds like ROEQ is an innovative company because, as I say, the AMR companies that I've spoken to, I don't remember there being additional components or parts that are modularized in this way. As I say, the AMR seems to already come equipped with, for example, a roller like this, with, for example, a lifter like the ones that we've seen earlier in the earlier video. It's interesting to separate out the tasks in this way, and a business built on this. You must be one of the very few who are doing this. And as I say, you've grown quite quickly, probably partly because of the growth in the warehouse market. I think this industry is grown so quickly. I don't know what that entirely is down to. People say it's e-commerce. The growth of e-commerce means that the warehouses have had to invest in faster moving sort of systems. I don't know what your observations are in terms of why you think this market is growing so fast. Do you have any ideas of what's happening in the
I
broader
think
economy?
it's a combination of different factors. In general, robotics automation has been on an upward trend for the last, I don't know, 10 years, especially collaborative robots. And AMR technology is considered to be a collaborative application when it comes to mobile robots, as opposed to the so-called traditional way of transportation that is with the AGV technology. And so I think it's a natural kind of progression that the market starts to look for safer and safer solution and more flexible solution as well, because the production needs and the way they produce or the way they do transportation of materials and handling of materials have changed. And also there has been this huge focus around safety, work injury, and just ensuring safety is a top priority. And also with this pandemic that we are experiencing now, I think that has also pushed towards that trend of saying that we need to look into how we can, be responsible, having a good distance between people working together, and that is to make sure that we have the robots doing what they are best at and the people doing what they are best at, and also to ensure that businesses are not being affected in this sort of a pandemic situation when there have been restrictions with people being allowed to work on site. So I think that has kind of has driven that trend as well, supported that whole upward growing trend in terms of robotics automation. The other thing is you're right to point out that e-commerce, for instance, is growing, and we can say it's probably growing also partly due to the pandemic, but it has already been growing before that. Logistics in general as well, and there are just so many industries that have been growing and needing solutions as such, because they are not at a very automated level to begin with. So there's a lot of room in those industries in many different areas in the manufacturing facilities to work on in terms of robotics automation.
Yeah, this is one of the questions I always ask people, just for their guests, because they're in the industry, you're in the industry, you have more knowledge about it. And I always ask them, what percentage of warehouses do you think are currently run along what you might call traditional systems, like conveyors and basically ones that don't use robots or AMRs or AGVs? What is the potential for companies like yours? I mean, what percentage of the market is yet to buy robots? What's your estimation, you think? What's the level of automation?
I'll be very honest that it will be very difficult for me to come with a percentage. We supply via our channel partner network, and they have the direct contact with customers in the field. And when ROEQ took off in terms of commercialization, it was in late 2018, and we were hit already in 2019 by 2020 by the pandemic. There was very little time for us to actually gather, let's say, a field feedback in that sense. We know through partners, through dialogues we have, that there is a lot of areas to look into, but to come with a specific percentage, we've not gone through that research broad to have a number to share with you, unfortunately.
No, that's fine. I just, as I say, I ask people, because these are difficult numbers to find, and just interesting getting people's views. But I mean, we can all agree that the market, potential market, is huge, because there's a huge number of warehouses that have not yet taken up or bought these kind of robots. And it's funny to say that, because these robots and this kind of equipment has been selling so well. You know, like you said earlier, you quoted a number, it's going to go from something like 800 million to 40 something billion in the next 10, 20 years or whatever. I mean, that is a massive, massive increase. It's one of the probably the fastest growing markets in any sector of the economy. I don't know, but it's certainly a good prospect for the future. I wanted to ask you about your relationship with MIR, in the sense that MIR is owned by Teradyne. Now, Teradyne also owns Universal Robots, which is the robotic arm maker. And I think they own also an auto guide as well. So they have 3 or 4 robotics, probably 3 actually, robotic companies. Can you see yourself joining that stable, if you like, and becoming Teradyne business unit, or what do you think the future is for ROEQ in that sense?
I think it's too early for us to know exactly which direction in what you are referring to. I think our focus right now in terms of longer term vision is to really ensure that we stay in that position of to be the go-to supplier for AMR needs. Anything can happen in the future, and I think if it makes sense for let's say Teradyne to complement the business units that they have, then perhaps that will happen in time to come. We don't know.
Yeah, it could be anybody. I mean, I'm just looking at a story about Vistion, one of your case studies on your website, as you can probably see. Vistion, of course, is a spin-off from Toyota. It makes, I think it is anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, please. Yeah, I think it's a spin-off from Toyota. It makes car dashboards and other components and parts. I don't know all the details, but it's a very big company, very widely known and respected company. I mean, somebody like that might be interested in buying these kind of your company, ROEQ, and it's an interesting time, because there are different companies buying different other smaller startups like yourself, and there's a lot of money coming into the sector as well, venture capital money, that is looking to buy small, fast-growing businesses like yours. I don't know if you can share any numbers about ROEQ in terms of turnover or number of employees, perhaps, or growth numbers. I don't know if you have any, actually. If you can share them?
No. Yes, we are at more than 20 employees today, and we have been experiencing 3-digit turnover in the past couple of years since our commercialization, and you know that's probably what I can share with you. Perhaps another information is in terms of standard top modules being delivered globally. We have to date close to 1,000 of our standard top modules delivered globally.
All right, okay, and that's to different companies other than MIR. Is it just all MIR?
No, it's all working with mere robots. But it's throughout the last 2 years that that have been supplied to different end users who are using the mere AMR with ROEQ top modules, and also the equipment that goes on top of the top modules.
All right. I know you mentioned this earlier, but and you said it's not an exclusive relationship with MIR. But I was curious, when do you think you'll start broadening out to supply other AMR makers. Maybe the other AMR makers already have, as I say, integrated those components integrated, so they have an AMR that carries shelves, shelf units, an AMR that has the top rollers, and so on. They have their own integrated, pre-built, non-modular system up to that point. So I don't know how do you see it developing? I mean, is it something that would more valuable as a perspective or potential acquisition? Not that you want to necessarily be acquired, but it certainly make you more attractive, surely.
Right.
Working with different businesses.
It's still work in progress, to be honest. We are obviously looking into the mid to longer term strategy, because right now the business is moving so quickly that we are fighting. We feel like we're always a step behind in terms of keeping up with the. I guess this is how I've come from startup companies in my last few career, and it's always, you have this feeling that you're always behind, and you're trying to catch up. And I think right now we're at this phase of just ensuring that we are in good pace, and ensuring that the focus we have stays as the focus. So I can only speak for now that the focus is on mere robot platform. Anything could be possible, is an open and yet to be discussed and figure out a topic around that. At the end of the day, if we do look at some other opportunities out there in the market, I think it's really to look into areas where perhaps MIR is not servicing, because there's really no point that if we really want to address the market, that we're going in same with partners that delivers exactly the same sort of technology or to the same sort of end users. So the needs in terms of the modularized products may also expand along the way, and whether that leads to acquisition, I guess I don't know. I guess probably there is an opportunity, but again, it's not something that we are working on right now to know what it will happen exactly for us. We just want to stay focused in doing what we are good at, and in bringing value to the market. I think there's a lot of education and awareness that needs to be done, rather than thinking too far down the road at this point of time.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's understandable. Obviously, that's not something you can control. It's up to other people whether they come forward and maybe make an offer or anything. There are companies, obviously, especially startups, they're one of their aims, if not even sometimes their central aim, is to raise funds, sell some of their equity, become get acquired by another company. So it is part of the business model sometimes with companies like yours. But you've given an answer to that. I'm just looking at the map on your website, and just to emphasize, I wanted to emphasize to the audience that you are based in Denmark, and that is a bit of a hotspot for robotics companies and development. I think the Danish or the Danish companies usually quite keen to point that out, that it's a very lively, vibrant robotics community there. There are several companies, really, really big companies now. Universal Robots, I think MIR, I don't know, but there's yeah. So there's lots of, and obviously ROEQ itself. There's loads of companies being developed or started up there. What do you put that down to? How did I know you've been with the company a short time, but the company itself has only been around for 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So what do you put it down to? What's going on in Denmark that helps them to develop robotics companies that are quite successful quite quickly?
I think we have this university that is located in that region, the Odense on Funen. And that is a university that is graduate with students that graduates from, let's say, mechatronics, and that maybe has had an effect to, naturally them, starting up something, working on something that is robotics related from there. And obviously with the success of Universal Robots, that has spurred a lot of startups to sort of follow in that footstep. And gradually a robot cluster and also investment set up, investment funding set up for growing these startups. So the whole ecosystem around growing this startup and helping them to get established commercially globally we have had that support system or the ecosystem that has kind of spun off from the success of Universal Robots many years back. So I think that's one of it. But of course, also with students graduating from there and starting their career somewhere from there, and that has also led to easier access of talent. People working out from that region, and I don't know what else. Maybe something to do with culture. I like to pride ourselves. So maybe there's something to do with culture. I can't pinpoint what. We are quite innovative. I mean, I think we have quite a few innovations, out from Denmark. Maybe there's a heritage for that.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting to me that you get clusters like this forming from time to time in different parts of the world. So Denmark or Dent, I think probably is a bit of a cluster in Europe. Over across the Atlantic, I think is it Boston that has a robotics cluster? It's quite a few companies, well-known companies from the area. I can't remember all the names. I'm probably getting it wrong, but Fetch Robotics, Boston Dynamics, and so on. And Pittsburgh is attempting to become a cluster of sorts, a robotics cluster. There are different the local authorities probably have a part to play in this, by encouraging them just through, various initiatives, like maybe incentivize them and so on.
Yes.
And I think those things probably help. But obviously,
but also,
yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, I was trying to say that Denmark being so tiny, it also forces us to expand outside Denmark, and that probably has been something that takes many of these companies, across the wall very quickly, and therefore raising the presence of these robot companies very quickly, as compared to some bigger markets where they probably start domestically, and it's probably enough with the domestic, kind of commercial activities going on. It could be one of the reasons in terms of raising profiles of the Danish robotics companies across the world.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right, because obviously the home market, the Danish population, Denmark's population is relatively low. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's one of the smaller countries in terms of population. Obviously, next door you've got Germany, and further afield you've got Poland, and so on. They're fairly large, obviously not fairly large, but they're very, very large manufacturing nations. Italy as well. That's just in Europe. Obviously, across the water you got the US, and in the other direction you got China. So not only do you have to or need to go out to different countries, you're looking at countries which are very, very large manufacturing nations, and provided that you've got a good product to sell to them, I just can't see anything other than enormous success. What other countries that you think have the potential for you, just as a last question, how do you see the future developing? Which countries and which sectors do you think you'll do well in?
Well, it's clear for us that North America will continue to be our very key market. And we have noticed a lot of growth and activities in many parts of Europe. We have also seen growth and activities in Asia. However, Asia has had this trend of adopting new technologies a lot slower. So I think the potential is huge and will be a focus in the next maybe 3 to 5 years. But in the near term, I think where we'll see most growth and activities from will be continuously from the North America, but also in many parts of Europe.
And just one final bonus question: is it what are the things that you're developing in terms of? I don't know if you can share some technical things, but what are the technical innovations that you see going forward? Are there going to be other products and things or innovations that you're working on?
Yes, definitely. We are going to have 2 product launches already next month and in September towards the end of this year. So we'll have new product additions to our portfolio. We have also in the past 6 months launched some new products that we're putting out in the market. One of which is the Gotfredsen system, which is really quite revolutionary in the sense of how cargoes are being transferred between mobile robots and conveyor systems in the manufacturing facilities, as opposed to the very traditional way of using a Wi-Fi dependent system. The Gotfredsen system is a non-Wi-Fi based system that basically enables it to be done in a very safe and reliable way. So I think we have such kind of technologies that continuously go out to the market to not just have an equipment, but also to have a solution that actually resolves business challenges to how it's being done today.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing them. We'll catch up again soon. In the meantime, I really appreciate your time and your insights. Is there anything that you'd like to mention that we didn't talk about, that I didn't ask about?
No, I think we are good. I think you have been really interested. So that's great. And you know quite a lot, so that's great.
Well, I've been doing this for a few years now, and although, there's still always things I don't know. Obviously, ROEQ, I've heard of, but I didn't know the specifics. And it is a very interesting concept that where you've, like I say, isolated a particular area of the technology and modularized it. And if AMRs are all built like this, you can supply the in-between technology. I don't know if I'm making sense by saying it like that, but you know what I mean, don't you? It's it's like the end effector market that on robot. I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of on robot. They have end effectors, the hands for robots. Now they have developed, not only developed lots of products themselves, they've acquired several companies in the sector. So they're now like a very, very big end effector sort of supplier. So that's the sort of comparison I would make. But this AMI is a very new market. So you're kind of leading the way in that sense.
Right. We're unique in a sense that as opposed to the customized ad hoc solutions that are being developed typically for mobile robots, we are doing it the other way around, going with standard solutions, because many times customers have these preferences that they want something that is bespoke, and they assume that is going to be a good investment by doing it themselves. But many times it's just ended up to be more expensive for integrators and customers. So I guess it's something that we are trying to raise awareness and also explaining how our technology and solutions actually could give a shorter way to actually adopting a high performance, reliable AMR solution in the market.
All right, Shermine. Is it Shermine or Shermine? How do you say it?
Shermine. Yeah.
All right, Shermine. Thank you very much for your time and your insights, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. So we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you. The pleasure is mine. And have a great day ahead.
Send us an email at sales@roboticsandautomationnews.com to register for one of our many upcoming webinars. And if you'd like us to host your webinar, we have a range of options, including long-term lead generation packages and marketing campaigns. We look forward to hearing from you soon.